All right. So good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our third FinTech Friday session of 2023. My name is Karyl, and we have an amazing panel of experts for a great discussion. So before we start, just a couple of reminders to keep your microphones on mute and to rename yourselves to include your name and institution so that we can identify you when you ask questions. Without further ado, I actually want to jump right into the discussion. So globally, female founders have received less than 2%. That's right, just 2% of all VC capital invested. A disappointing number considering that startups founded or co-founded by women offer a far better return on investment, more than double than that of male-led startups, and generate more revenue. Female-founded companies also exit faster, 7.2 years versus 8.1 for the market in 2022, and they have a 30% greater ability to spot and reduce business risk. The lack of diversity in both the VC and the startup ecosystem shapes the funding landscape for women-led and founded fintechs. Women are massively underrepresented among VC investors, and we know far too well that investors tend to have a bias towards backing businesses and founders they understand and relate to. Male investors are half as likely as their female counterparts to invest in startups with a woman on the senior team and 3 times less likely to invest in those with a female CEO. Income angel investors, who in 2022 did half the deals into female-founded startups. They have been a fundamental source of funding for many women-focused fintechs, and historical data confirms that women investors are 2 times more likely to invest in women founders. The objective of today's session is to understand and address barriers female founders face to access funding and the key roles investors play to bridge this gap, in particular, angel investors. To do that, please welcome our amazing panel of speakers. Okay, so today we have Sarah Turner, co-founder and CEO of Angel Academe, Angela Lee, founder of 37 Angels, Emma Sinclair, CEO of EnterpriseAlumni, and Valeria Vahorovska, founder and CEO of Fondy. So what I want to do is I want to give each one of you ladies in this order a chance to maybe very quickly introduce yourself and your institution, and then we'll jump right into the questions. So Sarah, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you, and great scene setting. So I'm Sarah Turner. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Angel Academe. We're a network of angel investors, mainly female angel investors, and we're investing into female-founded tech companies, one of whom is Emma's brilliant business, EnterpriseAlumni.
Thank you. Angela?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for that great introduction. So I wear 2 hats. I'm a professor at Columbia Business School where I teach venture capital. And I'm the faculty director of entrepreneurship there. And then I founded 37 Angels about 10 years ago. And very similar to Sarah, it is a network of about 100 women angels, but we invest in both male and female founded companies, which I can share a little bit about why we did that later. And then we have an angel investing boot camp. And our goal is to close the diversity gap in angel investing through education by making sure that there's more women who are armed with knowledge about how to do it.
Perfect. Emma?
Hi, everybody. Apologies, I can't unmute myself quite as easily. I'm having some tech issues, so you're on my phone. Lovely to be here. My name is Emma Sinclair. I am the Chief Executive and founder of EnterpriseAlumni. We are a global software company who help large and medium-sized companies activate, engage, and maintain a connection with former employees for business value, rehires, revenue, community, and more. As Sarah mentioned, I believe we are significantly, by a significant way, one of the largest or the largest investment that Angel Academe have ever made. And Sarah has been a huge source of support since the beginning of my journey, when I stated I had the intention to have a gender-balanced cap table all the way to exit. I like to make life hard for myself. Thank you very much.
Don't we all? And then finally, last but not least, Valeria.
Hi, everyone. My name is Valeria, and I'm the CEO and founder of fintech company, Fondy. Fondy, it is an embedded payment platform for cross-border payment management. We are focusing on SaaS platform marketplaces and helping them to accept payments and also to make the payout in the different locations. It's my second also startup company. I love to work always and to start something new on, because it's really exciting to give an opportunity also for other entrepreneurs to start their own business.
Perfect. Thank you all. So maybe I'm going to start with you, Sarah. A question with two parts to kind of frame the context a bit for everyone here so that we're all at level when we go into this discussion.
Mm.
Can you maybe briefly explain what is angel investing and how it differs from VC? And then Angela, I'd love your maybe take on that as well. And how do you define a female founder?
Okay, all right, good questions to start with. So angel investors are individuals investing their own money. VCs are institutions who raise money from other people, and basically an investor in a VC fund pays the VC to make the investment decisions and manage the investment for them. You know, as angels, we're doing it ourselves. So we've got a direct relationship with the founders, with the business. Our name is on the cap table. Angel investors, you don't need to be mega wealthy, but there are some regulations both in the US and the UK about defining yourself as a high net worth or sophisticated investor. So there are certain wealth criteria, but our members are financially secure. Our minimum ticket size is £10,000. So it is reasonably accessible to people who are more financially secure. The female founder questions, because we're investing specifically in businesses with a female founder, we've got to be quite careful about it. So we set a kind of particular definition. There may be more than one founder, and some of them might be men, which is absolutely fine. So we say they need to be in operating as either a CEO or CTO, ideally, so the people really in charge of the business, and owning at least 20% of the founder equity pre-dilution. And the reason we're strict about this is because we want them to have genuine influence in the business and really benefit from the upside. And actually, we do see businesses gaming the system. So, you know, there'll be a female founder with the job title, but when you look into the share ownership, actually they own 5% of the options. So their control and their upside limited to the men in the business will be minimal.
Perfect. Thank you. So Angela, I want to turn to you. So I want you to comment very briefly on the difference between angel investing and VC as well. But then what I want to ask you is, what do you look for as an investor in the fintechs you invest in? And do you have a gender lens that you actually take into consideration? If yes, why? And if not, why not?
I have actually nothing to add in terms of the difference between an angel and VC. I thought Sarah explained it really well. One thing I will add is we all know about the gender pay gap. CARTA, C-A-R-T-A, which does a lot of analysis. They basically help VCs to manage the operations of a VC fund. They did a really great study called the equity gap, the gender equity gap, and it talks a lot about what Sarah just spoke to around the lack of equity in female founders. In terms of what we look for, we break it down into the 4 Ps: people, problem, progress, and price. Right? Do the people have the right domain expertise? Is the problem large and an attractive competitive landscape? Do the founders have some progress that is repeatable? And of course, is the price fair? And then you asked about whether or not we have a gender lens on what we invest in. We do not. So we have female investors, but we are open to what we invest in. But what is very interesting, right, while you said it, 2% of VC funding goes to female founders, about 1/3 of our funding goes to female founders. And so we have noticed that an all-female investing team seems to have less gender bias than kind of a more traditional investing team.
Okay, nice. Valeria, I actually want to jump right into the biggest challenge that we know. As a fintech founder, what are your biggest challenges in raising funds today? And do you think your journey is harder because you're a woman?
So I think that generally, like, the market is not so great at all for the fundraising, and it's not just about like myself, but definitely I would like to share like my vision on this spot, because if you speak about the fintech and the women, it's quite I think that all of us, we understand that it was always like a man-dominated world, if to speak about financial markets. And that is why we cannot find a lot of female founders in fintech. If to speak about there is why, like, for sure, first of all, I'm also like facing with the same challenges as all the rest of the founders, because as a founder you need to manage on the one hand a lot of like risk and business risk. Also you need to run like and to employ a good team. You should be an expert like in technology, vision, clients. You have the same challenges, but on the other hand, yeah, for sure, you have the challenge that you need to convince investors that you are able also to run successfully your company, that you have like a strong vision, that you are very strong also to understand where you would like to be as a company, and you have ability, knowledge, and confidence that you will be there because you know how to do it. What I can tell you that sometimes I feel that despite the fact that you can introduce your project, your vision, you have like a good traction, you can have the same metrics with the other like founders. I mean, like definitely like men, but in some case investors still they feel more confidentiality. And also when you have like, for example, when you're in a meeting also like, and the partners like they are also like in investment funds, like they are also like men, for sure they feel that okay, we want to see much like a strong brutal man rather than like some like also like women who will have like maybe not such great like tone or something. Like it's not so important, to be honest, for business, I think that, but yeah, that it's like it doesn't help you sometimes, and it became quite common, especially in fintech, that you for sure you should have like CTO, CIO, or other like partners who will be like a man. I think that it's still not fair, because even if to speak about CTO, why we think that we cannot find like a good one women CTOs, and we can in the result, and we can also like see in ChatGPT, like she is a great CTO, she also like, and but still like she is also a woman. That is why I feel that on the one hand, I need to manage the same challenges as all the rest of the founders, because it's the same challenges. And sometimes, yes, you as a woman, you need to be much more stronger, much more passionate about your goal and your vision, and to convince all the rest that you are able to reach your destination and your goals, and you are able also to attract money. Yeah, it's like, I think that, and I feel that still it's quite complex and it's quite complicated, and to find the right for you, like also like invest fund, VC, or angels who can also trust you.
Yeah, Sarah,
Can I just
yes,
jump in? I'm sorry, because we talked about the researcher Dana Kanza before, didn't we? And she did some research that actually kind of quantifies some of what Valeria is saying, and that female founders who are kind of pitching non-typically female businesses suffer from a credibility gap compared to founders. They're just not trusted in the same
Sarah, you're breaking off.
way as men.
Okay.
I gotta turn my video off, see if that helps. If you have a man pitching a typically female business, they're taken just as seriously as women. So, you know, there's a real double disadvantage for women. So
yeah,
it was a really interesting article that came out, I think 2 days ago, that 2/3 of femtech companies are started by men.
can you imagine? Okay, are these the ones that are founded, or the ones that got money?
Sorry, VC backed femtech companies.
There you go.
They raised.
They got the money. They got the money.
They raised twice as much as, even though 70% of founders in femtech are women, the 30% of men raised twice as much in total. Yeah, I read the same article. It's
horrible, right? When you read these numbers. So actually, I want to go to Emma, because I mean, I don't know if Emma has broken the mold or she's done some really magical stuff. You're unmuted, Emma, so you're fine. So what I want to hear from you about your journey, and what were the biggest hurdles you faced in raising capital, and what did it take for you to reach the stage you're at today?
Sure. And only because I'm on my phone. If everyone thinks I'm sending text messages to my mum on the side, I'm making notes and just trying to keep track because you're on my phone and it's a small screen. I don't know if I've created magic, but I'll just take the compliment anyway because I'm tired and I need a compliment. Look, statistics don't lie. So I'm listening to all of this. Obviously, none of this is new to me. And no doubt there are lots of women on the line. We're all raising our eyebrows and irritated. It's all glacial and very and ridiculous and short-sighted. But that's not what you asked. You didn't ask how cross I am. You asked me a couple of questions, which are the hurdles I faced and what did it take. Look, we've raised quite a lot of money. And if anyone has a Google, what you see online is not correct. And I never correct it because it's none of anyone's business unless we tell them. But we raised a lot of money. And look, we did a sort of very early seed. We did a sort of later seed, then we did a Series A. We've done a round since then. And when I started, for the avoidance of doubt, first of all, I hadn't really raised money in this way before. And second of all, if anyone can feel my power or my energy on the screen, I also wasn't like this. I was mortally shy until I was about 29, didn't say a word to anybody. So what you're hearing and what you're seeing is not how I started. What did it take? Well, I mean, look, it's a very long story, but the short story is there were a couple of milestones that changed the direction I took, or certainly changed the direction of what was expected from me and what most people would expect. So to raise quite a lot of money, you typically need to go to people that will write you big checks. I think that I am quite unique in that we're in enterprise software and we've raised coming close to about 25 million, and we've got a couple of funds in, but small checks. So my money predominantly comes from entrepreneurs and business people who I found my audience, essentially. I found the people that I resonate with. And then on top of that, our business has grown substantially. You know, when I met Sarah, I think we had like a couple of customers, 3-4 customers maybe, and not that much revenue. You know, we hit a revenue milestone last night, actually, a really exciting one. And I think, you know, I think we've grown about 25x since we met Sarah, which sounds a lot because we started small, but it's very meaningful. So we have, my point being, we have a very meaningful business to present to people. And I found my people. So that's the first thing. I did get a Series A. I did go to do a Series A from funds, one check. And we got deals. That's when I learned to negotiate. And the night before I was due to sign with the VC that we had done a deal with, we were at the table discussing one or two last small things. And one of the partners there who was doing the deal said in passing, and I bet he wouldn't even remember, and I will not be mentioning any names. He said, when we were talking about the future, he said, but of course, Emma, you won't be here in a few years' time. I had given absolutely no indication I was going anywhere, wanted to go anywhere, or anything other than I was very committed to my business. And I remember there were a couple of people there with me from on my side, and we got in the lift afterwards, and I was just sure I'd misheard. My stomach turned, but I thought, which happens very often for me and no doubt other people, when someone says something outrageous, you're like, that's obviously not what they said, and I must have misheard. And I get in the lift, and everyone's like, did you hear that? What? I won't use the language that everybody used when we discussed that. And that night, I made the decision to not take that round and to go and raise in a different way. I think it was a matter of days or weeks afterwards that I went to a lunch at a restaurant in London. I'd never met Sarah. She stood up and introduced herself. And I, when it came round to my side of the table, said that I was doing a raise and that I was going to aim to do 50-50 gender balance. So I faced a lot of hurdles in doing that because women don't invest like men. I thought, okay, I've got an enterprise software business, big customers. I've got a bit of oomph. Surely, because I knew lots of people that had invested in a lot of consumer stuff that wasn't particularly high margin or was never going to be a really big business, I'll be able to raise money. And it just wasn't that easy. I was extremely lucky to find a few allies. Sarah, a woman called Anna Sofat, who used to have a financial services company that went and found me women too. I had a couple of people who were like, all right, Emma, I'm coming on this with you. You asked what it took. I mean, wanting to have gender balance on my cap table at scale when we raise, you know, even now we're raising a little bit of money, but not a huge round, a bridge. It was the worst idea. It took, you know, fundraising and running a business at the best of times, as everyone's mentioned, is extremely hard. I just put another 50 barriers to success on myself. So it was very, very hard. It continues to be very, very hard, but I've worked around it. I've learned you can make a syndicate and you can find lots of women, and those A woman will often bring another 10 women with her, even if it's a smaller check size, but it was really very hard. So, I mean, you know, we were talking about the challenges that women face. I created an extra challenge on top of that. But at the same time, I am a person who likes to take action to solve a problem. I like to put my money where my mouth is. And we talk about women on cap tables being less. Well, I also want to make women rich. I want to be rich. I want to be massively financially independent. And I know a lot of stuff that I would look forward to doing with my money. But I also want to make a lot of money for the women that I know. So everything is a hurdle. It's just been so challenging. It's challenging now. And just it's a man will write me a check for 50 to 250K. And it's a very rare thing that a woman will. So there we go. Some of the hurdles, some of the challenges, a little bit of the magic. I hope I loosely covered it all.
Yes, you did. That was great. And I hope everyone here gets rich. Really, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. You all deserve it.
I hope everyone here gets rich. You're absolutely right. Everyone gets rich. And I hope everyone here that's listening that's from a bank wants to help me buy software at their bank. Just saying. Sorry. Don't ask, don't get.
Thank you for that. So Sarah, I want to come back to you. So you're also a founder of a company at the end of the day, Angel Academy. So naturally, you needed to raise capital for your own company, I would assume. Did you face any gender-related obstacles yourself when raising for your own company? And then did you make changes in the way your company runs and the procedures you have to avoid these same challenges for the people you invest in?
So lots of parts to that question, but actually we didn't raise any money. We bootstrapped Angel Academy. We've kept it small. We've kept lean. We don't operate as a fund, you know, as an individual.
Sarah, I think you're going to have to turn your camera up again just for a minute so that we hear you. Sorry, and then you can come back on.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
So do you need me to say that again? We didn't raise any money for the business. It was entirely bootstrapped. Because we're not operating a fund, we didn't need to raise a fund either. Everyone's investing as an individual directly into businesses. But I did, when I first started talking to people about what I was planning to do, and this was back in 2012, people said I was crazy and all the cliches came out, and you know, it's a long time ago and I hope that things are better now, but I think that, you know, the same kind of thing still. I was told that women don't invest, and I mean, everything that Emma said is right. Fewer women do, and they invest less and less often, and there are challenges, but that is changing. But you know, I was told women don't invest, full stop. They do due diligence to death and never make a decision on investments. They're too risk averse and all these other horrible cliches. And then when talking about female founders, I was told, you know, and these are by quite well-known people in the startup ecosystem, oh, women only build niche businesses, not scalable ones. So, you know, it just all felt like ambitious, lack confidence. And, you know, as you can tell, Emma and Valeria are, I mean, you know, they're full of confidence, aren't they? It's just ridiculous. Anyway, so, yeah, so frankly, all of this just made me more determined to do what I was going to do anyway. So really to prove people wrong. It's a great incentive.
Definitely is, I'm sure is. Everything should be an incentive for us. Valeria, I wanna jump to you. As a founder, what do you look for in an investor? And then do you think they should have an understanding of the female economy, female founders, have a more diverse investment committee, etc.? So what do you look for in an investor?
So if I'm quite general if to speak about the economies, because I don't feel there are any difference between like some female economy or especially in fintech, because financial technology, you see the problem and you need to solve this problem, and after you need to develop the company and the technology which you can scale on other markets. It's not about, but if to speak about like investors, for sure I'm looking for the professional also understanding in level that first of all they are investing in a people and in team, and they should be also interested in keeping and developing also team and people. And it's not about like that we are looking for just like a man. It's not about this. We should be more focusing still. Thank you also like for the question, because it's important in companies, for founders to have a great team, to have a great culture. And I think that investors should also understand it, not to destroy with their like ideas and their culture, that like to make like you must do this. They should understand that founders and the team is really important part to scale and to reach the success, because we can see a lot of also bad stories when investors, because they were pushing a lot of founders and teams to make this and that steps, and it caused really troubles for companies. That is why I feel that, yeah, I'm looking for the smart investors who also understand the importance of the culture of the teams and understanding the technology and what we are doing, because when someone is investing also in the company, they're investing again in the team and the vision. And it is important to not to lose this vision and also to support the culture. For sure, like in my company, we are definitely, we have diversity and we are also multinational teams. And I prefer to stay the same vision, because it's important. We are all very different. And it's really cool when you have different people, they have different ideas, but you are united also just around your goal and around your vision. That is why I feel, and I would like to see in investors also like really a big focus on the teams and understanding that definitely in all the teams should be diversity. And as I mentioned, it should be not that the tech, it should be men, and like more operational and accountant or HR function should be women. It's quite common what I can see from the market and what I can see like from everywhere, that yeah, everyone is super glad when women, they care about operations, because for sure we like money and we know how to manage it. That is why everyone to look us to care about this like as our home, you know, as like our family. And but nobody wants to see us as a leader, as a great leader, as a strong leader, because again about like this trust. And that is why I would like to see the smart investors who will not divide us between like a gender, colors. They will not do it. They will invest in people. They will invest in the leaders. They will invest in the teams. And I think that it's also not so easy to find now also like investors with such culture too.
Sadly, very true. Thank you, Valeria, for that. Angela, I wanna turn to you, and I want to talk about the diversity of your portfolio of investments. And well, sorry, Valeria, I am going to ask this to Angela. Do you see a difference in the performance of a female-led or owned fintech versus one that is neither?
So in terms of performance, there are a couple different ways to look at it, right? One is as does the investor make more money? But there are lots of other ways to look at it as well. So thus far, we have not. Now, we've only invested in 100 companies, and so it's hard to draw a ton of conclusions from that. But I actually went and looked, and from a financial performance, no. But what we do know from looking at our data is that the female founders raise less and raise at a lower valuation. And so that, I think, speaks to a lot of the dynamics that we've been speaking about so far. And yeah, I'll pause there. I wasn't sure if you had a follow-up from there.
Okay. All right. So the idea was to just see like if there's a difference in the performance in general.
I will say there are some comments in the chat about, resources, like about if you're a woman of color, it's even more difficult. Yes. Absolutely. I just wanted to call attention on our website. We have a link for resources for female founders and then a resource for links for diverse founders. And there are people who specifically fund underrepresented founders, as well as like accelerators and other groups like that. Angel Academy is on our list. So big fan of what Sarah's doing.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing. Well, Emma, I wanna turn to you. I know you're now a more established tech company, obviously, and you've raised funds on multiple occasions. So where you are today, do you still face fundraising challenges and investor bias? I know there's a generic challenge throughout the year in raising funds, but in particular, do you feel there is still investor bias towards you? And do you feel more comfortable or more confident when you work with female angel investors?
Sure. So no, I don't feel more comfortable when I work with female angel investors. I feel comfortable when I work with investors I really love and trust, who respect me. And you know, you're not supposed to have favorites. I have some favorites, and it's absolutely not by gender. Although there are some people that I engage with differently. Women, a lot of my female investors, I do have a different level of engagement. I think because for those ones that are supporting me personally or on their first angel investment, I think it's quite personal for them and I can feel it. So there's a bit more love, and there's a few more emojis that come from my female investors on text messages than from men, but not exclusively. You asked me about, you know, challenges in terms of gender from raising money. Look, broadly, the stats don't lie. So very straightforward answer from almost any founder you'll find, including me, is definitely. I mean, I think to myself, I'm older and wiser. I speak, I believe, with more power. I feel like I'm less easy to intimidate, and a collection of other things. You ever read about me before I get there? I sound like I've done a bit more than when you first met me, and I still face rubbish constantly. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of things that have happened recently. They are not the norm, but the fact that they happen is insane. At a dinner recently, my COO was asked about data, very complex questions. My CFO was asked about money, and when they came to me and said, I've got a couple of questions for you, it was like a closing dinner. The first question I got was, do you employ women of menopause age? And the second question I got is, do you like women? This is at a dinner with senior corporate people. I've had a CEO of a very large international financial services company who committed money, and I went for a closing dinner in the US. The third time he mentioned the size of his hotel room, I finally clicked, because until it happens, you just don't even occur to you that anyone would be that unprofessional. So when that happened, when he mentioned that, I mentioned that I had to go home, I had to leave, my family were waiting. And the next morning I got an email to say, closing dinner for money, that actually they wouldn't be investing in me. He's sure I understood and wishing me the best of luck. So look, there are plenty of professional people out there. There are plenty of professional people out there with biases that they don't think they have. And I think we're all clear about that because of the stats, right? It's unquestionable that whether I think it or not, I walk into a room and I'm immediately massively disadvantaged. I have more questions about our valuation than I think Amount would have, because I have been punchy in my valuations, and we do grow into them, and people can say no, right? You can absolutely say no, but I get a lot of comments of that constantly. So, you know, is it an impediment? It doesn't impede me, but it certainly makes me on high alert. It's made me happier to go to family offices and business individuals. And my next round is almost certainly going to have to be uniquely from institutions, with obviously people. Don't worry, Sarah, we'll be asking if anyone wants to follow on. But, you know, the large check I'm going to go for one large check. And I'm thinking about that, and that's next year. And I'm like, is it a good use of my time to do a process with lots of work where I believe we deserve what we're asking for, when that 1.2% of money goes to women? Am I going to have, are the odds so stacked against me that I shouldn't bother, and I should work a little bit harder, and I should raise money again in an unusual way, and not just go straight to a sort of enterprise SaaS firm? And that keeps me awake at night, because if you ask me at the bottom of my heart what I feel the answer is, and usually I go with my gut, the answer is quite probably. On the flip side, notwithstanding the results, the output, the earlier exit, the performance of women, I'm like, you've got to look pretty stupid if you don't invest in women and you've got a big fund. And there are less of us that are getting scale. So on the other side of it, I think to myself, all right, I've got a serious business, 50 of the world's largest companies, 4 of the US's largest banks. We power LinkedIn's own alumni network. I mean, we're very legitimate. Are we a good bet? Even if it's because a fund decides it's quite a good business, but also they'll look really good if they back a female enterprise software founder. I tell you what, I don't care why people back me if I want them to back me and it's a deal that I want. So it's on my mind night and day. It's an inevitability. I face it constantly, and I worry most for the people that were my age when I started my first business, because I'm like, people still put their hands up skirts, down trousers, and make inappropriate comments. Sad but true.
Wow. Thank you for that, Emma. A lot of ups and downs, as we can hear and see and feel with you. But I mean, hey, it takes strong characters and strong people like you and like Valeria, and ethical and
with the
correct
help of
people.
women like you and the other people on the line.
Exactly, and with the help of people like Angela and Sarah, who are ethically correct and really, in it for the right reasons, to make the wheel turn, hopefully in the right way. Unfortunately, one day at a time, one fintech at a time, one woman at a time. That's the difference. It's slow because it's just one person at a time, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I want to turn back to Angela, actually, and I want to ask you, I mean, hearing everything that we've heard, do you currently believe that we still need more women angel investors? And is this really a solution to the funding gap we see for female founders, especially knowing that most of the female founders are still at the very early stages of raising funds like seed, pre-series A, series A? So do you think angel investment is the solution to this problem?
Before she says it, yes.
We definitely need more women angel investors for sure. But I think it's not or, it's and, right? So we need more women angels. And on top of that, we need more women angels writing larger checks. So I think there's been a lot of celebration recently that somewhere between 30 and 40% of angels are now women, which is fantastic. However, women angels write much smaller checks than male angels. And so at the end of the day, the amount of dollars is still not as high as we'd like. And then if you look at every chart, we often talk about, women are getting X% of VC funding. It gets lower and lower and lower for every progressive stage. So the percentage of women who are getting Series C funding it's so small, like the bar chart, you don't see the bar. And so, yes, we need more women angels, and we need more women in venture capital at all stages, actually writing checks, not being the COO or the head of platform, whatever the case may be. And again, that's, we started off for 37 Angels, specifically educating women angels. And now about 25% of the people who take our boot camp are people who want to work in venture capital. I also teach 1,000 students a year venture capital. And, one statistic is all the other VC professors are male. I'm the only female VC professor. And when a male venture capital professor, one professor did this, where he just counted the number of women in his class was 1/6 women. My classes are consistently 1/3 women. And so you need women to be, for people to look up to and to say, look, I see someone who looks like me in this senior leadership role. So yes, we need more women angels, and we need more women writing checks in venture capital firms as well.
Yep, I agree completely. And I would actually, question that statistics, whether is it 1/6 of his class are women and 1/3 in your class are women, or is it 1/3 in your class are men versus 5/6 of his class are men? Because that also may be, unfortunately, sadly, a part of the what's on the table is that would men want to hear from a men VC professor versus more women want to hear from a woman VC professor?
Yeah. Oh, I could talk for hours about the fun things that female professors face in classrooms. That is not the purpose of today's conversation.
I know, but I mean, it's just when we discuss everything and we hear everything that we hear, it's also part of the question, unfortunately, that naturally drives up. I want to now turn to Sarah, who we don't see, but we can hear, and we have a beautiful tree, to guide us. Sarah, what do you think it will take to encourage more women to become angel investors? Do they need specific characteristics? Do they have to be rich, retired, business owner, employee, understand about fintechs, the sectors, etc.? What do we need?
Apologies about my internet connection and that you were left with the logo, but we'll carry on. I think the biggest thing is just there needs to be better awareness of the opportunity that angel investing brings. In the UK, we've got some very generous tax breaks. Women aren't told about these by their financial advisors. Also awareness that if you join a network, it can involve quite modest amounts of money, and it's always better to do it amongst other people, then you've got the combined with of very skilled small groups. I think it's open to everyone. You know, all the people in our group are smart. They've made their own money. They've enjoyed a certain level of success. They've got skills and experience to give back. And, you know, I think it's absolutely, as Angela says, it's about educating women and giving them the skills. They might be super confident in the thing that they do for a living, but when they look at anything that's financial, if that's not their wheelhouse, they tend to be kind of a little bit less confident. So it's about kind of making them believe that they can do it. But yeah, so we will get there. So yeah, as Angela says, you know, not only are women investors the minority, we're a much lower minority in the UK than we are in the US. That's really encouraging to hear. But we're writing smaller tickets and less often. So we just need to keep mobilizing more people. And, you know, as these women start to see returns and become wealthier themselves, when Emma gives us a lovely exit, then our check sizes will go up.
Beautiful. All right. So Valeria, I wanna turn to you, and I want to ask you, what is the one thing you wish you knew about raising capital when you were starting your business? And knowing that, would you have done anything differently when starting?
Yeah, I think that as I also bootstrapped my company, and I was always focusing more on the clients and revenue, and selling the product to your clients, it's not the same as to sell the product and the company to investors. In a relationship with your clients, you are selling, you clearly understand the business and you clearly understand what is the problem, and you are selling the solution, how they can solve this problem, and you are always aligned. With investors, you should definitely still not to sell them nowadays. You need to sell like a storytelling and a big idea where you would like to be. It's important, depends on the stages of the company. If you are pre-seed and you have just an idea, but you should always have a clear vision, a clear story, your company story, your vision story, how you will introduce it and how you will sell it to investors, because still investors, it's also they are purchasing your idea or another one. It's not that they are just like you and that's all. No, they will like you as a founder with this idea and this vision. That is why I think that we are also like, as a women, it's not about just self-confidentiality. It's also about like how you can introduce your vision, your idea, how you are confident in your big story. Because nowadays, maybe you are still very small, and for sure it is the case that you will be small, because when you have just like an idea or you have a small one revenue, but you need to show the clear understanding where you would like to be, what it will be and how you reach it. And I think that it's really important to be able to be a good speaker and also like a storytelling speaker, because I feel that, and I saw a lot of stories when like also like the founders, they are not able and they not ready to give and clear understanding where you would like to and to sell your product, to introduce it and as a strong business case. It's not the same as like a strong solution, a proposal to the client. That is why I think that if I knew it, it will help me also from the beginning to understand how to introduce your company in a much more better and stronger way for investors, because it's not the same as a client.
Thank you for that honest statement. I think it's really important to have that in mind for all female founders out there looking to raise capital. Emma, I want to ask you, what is the one piece of advice you would give to female founders of fintechs or any tech companies that are looking to raise funds?
Raised from people who you have a personal connection with, people that you used to work with that know you, people that have known you for a long time. I really respect people, and look, we all do things differently. I massively respect people that send 1,000 emails to people they don't know, or I get messages on LinkedIn from people I've never met in my life asking me if I want to angel invest. And I guess it must work because people do that. And I guess if you send 1,000 messages, one person at least will invest in you. But you know, going to the people, you know, also work out who your demographic is, because very early on, it's hard to start raising money. So you know, if you aren't raising too much or just getting started, find your tribe. I think it's like everything in life. When I say find your tribe, find your people who will support you, high five you, pick you up when you're sad, celebrate when you win. Who are those people? And I know who those people are for me, and I know who I resonate with. And I've been able to really understand that better and better over time. And I guess persistence. I don't think I have, if I think about the money that we've raised, I would punt with no work done. So I'm put out of thin air, I punt. I'd only really ask 25% of those people to invest. The other 75% I mentioned I was raising. I just mentioned. And very often people would say, I'd love to have a look. So fundraising is an art and a science that you learn over time. And yeah, ready yourself for what people want to know, and ready yourself for people to have, they're investing in you at the early stage, right? I think, by the way, I have many faults and I'm rubbish at so many things, but I am, you know, I'm a relatively transparent person in terms of professional. So I make sure we stay in touch. And I talk about the highs and the lows of people. You know, sometimes I don't just talk about how brilliant the opportunity is. Sometimes I talk about what's hard. So it is a personal marketing exercise as well as a professional fundraising exercise. Find your people. It'll be much easier to get their confidence than people who are, you know, the world's best person that invests in this particular area, but you don't know at all, and you just kind of very different. That, however, is my take. And fundraising, like everything in life, is deeply personal. There's no one way to do it. And if anyone is on the line that is going to fundraise, it's very hard. I'm afraid to say it doesn't get easier, and I wish everybody luck.
Just to echo Emma's point, less than 20% of VC deals are done through cold calling. So about 80% are done through referred deal flow. So it really is about leveraging your network. That said, 20% of deals are getting done outside of folks' networks. So just another resource for you all, it's just a list of VC funds by thesis and geography, which can be helpful if you're just looking for VC funds. And so the cold email does work about 20% of the time, but yes, leveraging your network is
it's so time consuming, right, Angela? I mean, like that, it's the other thing is, you know, you're fundraising, you're doing 65 other things at the same time. You know, it's like everything in life, hone in. And you know, the more focused you can be and the more you hone in, or the more you ask, or the more you ask for help, the more people that really want to help you will send you in the right direction.
Yes, very much so. So I want to tell my audience that you can ask questions in the Q&A, in the chat, and I will definitely ask our speakers. I have a couple of questions. I have one to that's to Angela and Sarah, actually. So while Angel seems to be a great solution for women founders looking to raise early stage investing, there are some instances where the seed or the Series A investment needed is you know, beyond the small ticket size of an angel. So what would be the solution for such cases? What should they do?
I mean, kind of like what Emma was saying.
After you, Angela.
Sorry. Kind of like what Emma was saying, leverage your network. So as you are diligencing your investors or seed investors, you should ask them, you know, how well connected are you? Can you help me to raise my Series A? And, you know, we have relationships with about 400 VCs, and we very aggressively try to help our portfolio help to raise their Series A. So that's one thing you should be asking your investors when you're diligencing them. And you can also ask their portfolio companies, how helpful are they with fundraising? So that's one, really work your network. Speaking of working your network, I find that women are wonderful at building networks, but sometimes we can be bashful to really use our networks. So be very direct. Don't ask people to coffee, right? Be very specific. I'm raising a £5 million Series A. You know X, Y, and Z via LinkedIn. Can you introduce me? Here's an email with 3 great bullet points on me and my deck. Make it really easy for people to help, but also be very direct about your ask. I see a lot of people are like, I want to take you to coffee, you know, I want to pick your brain. And I'm like, no, I know what you want. Just be really direct about it. Whereas I get many more of those direct emails from the male founders in our portfolio.
Yeah.
Can I say, as
Yes.
I said, there's no one size fits all, right? And we all do things differently. Depending on who the person is, I always meet for coffee. because people ask you how you can help. And I would say, for example, look, number one on my list is raising, but number two is, can you make three warm intros? Or and look, it does depend on the person, and you can't see everybody. So I have to say, like, it no doubt depends on the person, and no advice is right or wrong. I've never asked anyone to introduce me for fundraising, but probably I would do for a fund. I absolutely would do for a VC or a fund, but if it's angel wise, that's my sense. But that's just my take.
Absolutely. I'm talking about like you're raising your next round, your VC.
Oh, I see. Oh, 100%. Yeah, God. If it's just for a fund, well, that's sorry, forgive me.
No worries. Sarah, you want to think on that?
Yeah, I was just saying, I think that advice about, being more aggressive about the networking and more focused is really well made. But also the reality of funding rounds at any stage is that it's not no one organization or no one individual. It's a fairly scrappy process. Funds and angels and angel networks investing alongside each other, typically at all these stages. So I think that's an important thing for people to get their head round as well. I have these emails that are asking me to introduce them to an angel, and it's like, well, that's not that's the start, that's not the end. So it's absolutely
Well, Sarah, you got cut off, so I'm gonna jump
about leveraging your network.
Okay.
Sarah lives very near to the sea in a really lovely location. So the penalty for living somewhere so lovely is obviously occasionally the Wi-Fi is not as good as it should be.
It's okay. At least she's got something that justifies it. So I have an interesting article that I read a few days ago, and it said, and I want to quote it as it said it: support from female investors may actually be a mixed blessing because it can make it harder for female founders to raise additional rounds of financing. So when people see that a female founder received funding from a male investor, they assume it's because she is competent and her startup is strong. But if the same founder only has female investors, then people are more likely to assume that her success is due to her gender rather than her competence. So I actually want to take your take on that, all of you. So whoever wants to go first.
I think that everyone, every time, if to speak about the success, I think that it's my personal opinion, but everyone, when they see the leader and success, they think that there are some other reason rather than really like it is successful person because it like has strong. For sure, the easiest and to use that like this stereotype for women that it is because the gender. I think that for men, to be honest, very often people, they use the same approach, but a little bit different because he's a good friend of someone. Okay, his father, his mother, other like objections. But for women, every time everyone uses the only one reason, yeah, because she's a woman. But again, it's like a stereotype, and it's quite normal that people, they will always try to find something rather than real like reason of success and why. That is why you just need to accept it and live with it.
Yeah. Angela.
I mean, one thing I will say is I do have a lot of people pitch me, and they don't say much about their company, and they will lead with, I'm a woman, or I'm a woman of color. And that should not be the most compelling thing about your startup, right? You should lead with whatever great things you've done or the great market you're in. And so I do think I do get a lot of pitches where people are like, I expect you to fund me because I'm female or because I'm of this certain demographic group. And so I do think it's important to lead with strength and not to be like, because of the current context of where that I should get funded because of that. So I think that is something to recognize. That said, I've never, and I'm a venture partner in a fund, and I'm in a lot of investment committees with people who are leading Series A and Series B conversations, and I've never had someone like look at the cap table and be like, oh, all these people are male or female. And so I don't think people are looking at like a cap table of that degree. I do think that if the awards, if you're getting like awards and maybe they're specifically for gender, I think that they're not going to hurt you, but I think they're not going to help you as much as a non-gendered award, for example. But I've never heard anybody like go through and like kind of tabulate the gender profile of your cap table to make a decision. So I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Great. And then I have Sarah who has commented on this. Well, I will not say the first part out loud, but women are often tougher investors and they do more due diligence, not less. So.
Oh, yes, they do.
Women are slower to write checks.
Yes, Emma, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, when someone's giving you money, I always think it is their business what they do. And you can't get cross with someone for asking loads of questions. But, you know, I listen in on a lot of chat about angel investments where people are asking for feedback. They are asking, what should we be doing? And they're given lots of advice about do this and do that and ask for this right and ask for that right. And as I say, whatever people want. But realistically, if you're investing in a company that is quite small or quite early stage, there's only so much you can ask, and then you have to take a view. And I genuinely think it's about the person, but that's just me. I mean, I angel invest occasionally, and that is very much led by the person. Without doubt, women ask more questions, take longer, and yeah, without doubt. And even women that are super high net worth. I have a friend who recently invested in so I'm just raising a little bridge, and I set up a syndicate, as I mentioned, so that women who write smaller checks can put some money in, but my cap table stays tidy. And she wrote a check for like, you know, $45,000, which is lovely and super appreciated. So first check, she has over $10 million of liquid cash, no family, really wants to invest. And it took her, she said yes. And then it took her about 8 weeks to send the money. Now it's fine because I didn't need it. But, you know, the amount of scrutinizing and then stress she felt about doing it. The reality is it's in a liquid asset. It's certainly not a charity decision or ESG, which makes me mad as well. I mean, I'll take money for whatever reason. But women, yeah, unquestionably have to recognize that. The second part is that a lot of women that do angel invest are super educated or are investors or from private equity. And again, you just have to remind people, you're entitled to ask what you like. This is a really small business. If we spent all our time answering questions like this, we'd never be able to run a business. So I think people have to just say to themselves, I have a risk appetite.
Yeah, agree. So I think, Angela, we have to let you go. It is 3 minutes before 10. We had promised that we would let you go because you have another call in exactly 3 minutes. Thank you very much for being with us. I have one last question to the rest of the panel. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
For your
Great
time.
conversation.
Thank you. So my last question to the speakers is, and more particularly to Sarah, in this case, is how can we get more venture capital and more money to female founders? What can we do? What is the solution? Because we keep seeing a mismatch, right? Women are looking for funds, and then angel investors and funds are looking for founders, and I don't know what's happening in between. They're not finding each other.
Okay. Can you hear me? Start. Yes, I don't think there's a silver bullet single solution. A lot of people, you know, Angela and I have both been at it for more than and 10 years trying to find it's more women investing at angel level, but it's more investment committees, investment first, because otherwise female-owned businesses won't get through. We've got to call out the bias where we see it, and just keep going. And then, as Valeria says, you know, as founders, being really confident about describing our business and showing all that ambition and confidence. So
yeah.
Sarah, you're, every time you speak, just so you know, it's not just Karyl telling you that there's a massive interruption. So I don't know whether it's related to where you're sitting in the house, or if you stand with your phone 10 degrees higher, it makes a difference. But we're not hearing all the wonderful things that I know everybody wants to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Might be one to bow out of.
Yeah. Probably so. It's okay. So we're almost out of time anyway, and you all have been great. And what I want to do is I want to do a very quick roundup. on some of the things I learned today. One, raising funds is a very personal process. No two are the same, apparently. Be aggressive and straightforward with what you want, and be very confident when pitching your business and really understanding who you're pitching to. So when you're pitching to your clients, you pitch the solution, but when you're pitching to your investors, you're pitching the journey and the overall objective of where you want the company to go, and then leveraging your network as much as possible. So these were the key takeaways for me. If anyone from the audience wants to add anything, please do, from my speakers. Otherwise, I want to thank Valeria, Emma, Sarah, and Angela for really being with us on a Friday afternoon, morning, depending on when they are. And it was an amazing session, very rewarding. Thank you for this lovely discussion. Thank you for sharing, Valeria and Emma, your honest stories and your challenges. Go ahead, Emma.
Can I say?
Yes.
We need cash, but we also need deals. If anyone is from a large enterprise or a financial services company, I'm sure Valeria and I want to hear from you, either as angels or as a conduit to winning business, because our valuations get bigger when we have more revenue. So you want help? I want an intro to your BFF within a larger enterprise. I'm e@enterprisealumni.com. I'll take any email gratefully. Sorry.
No, it's you have every right to do that. So both Emma and Valeria are amazing fintech tech founders, and yeah, people like them. Well, I mean, if we
still need help, we still need help.
You don't need help. You just need deals. Exactly. You need someone who's supposed to accompany you to make the objective of the company come true. Exactly. And people like Sarah and Angela, and we need a lot more of them to help us get there. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being with us. Thank you to my audience. Thank you to my speakers. Wishing you all a lovely day, lovely afternoon. And our last FinTech Friday session of the year will be in December. Keep checking your emails. You'll hear about me soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Karyl, are you in Beirut?
I am not.